Coming up on this edition of Cedar Falls City News, the annual Blast Summer Sizzler brings swimmers from all over to the falls for an entire weekend. The Hartman Reserve hosts a successful Hunger Games program for the second year in a row, and Iowa Public Television's Dan Wardell gives Cedar Valley children a morning they will never forget. All this and more coming up next. Hello and welcome to this edition of Cedar Falls City News. I'm Shelby Gappa. Our goal is to keep you up to date with city projects and programs so that you, the citizens of Cedar Falls, are better informed. We'll also have human interest features so that you can get to know the people who run your city a little better. Backstroke, butterfly, breaststroke, and freestyle were only a few of the terms used last weekend at the annual Blast Summer Sizzler swim meet. This swim meet brings in about 650 swimmers from Iowa and Minnesota to the Cedar Falls Aquatic Center for over 4 days. The Aquatic Center can only safely host so many swimmers over that weekend and had to even turn away many athletes.
Unfortunately, we have to turn away many more just because how popular this meet is. So we fill up, this year we filled up in about a minute. That's how fast we fill because we only have so many swimmers and the time allotted. So.
Though all the swimmers last weekend were from Iowa and Minnesota, past years have brought in swim teams from all over the United States.
Like I said, we have turned away lots of teams. I mean, we got teams from Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, the Dakotas that want to come, but we just don't have the room to accommodate. So.
And people from Minnesota, and we've had people from Hawaii and New Jersey and a lot of different places come in. I definitely met a lot of new people at this event compared to other meets because there's just so many people that come in, and it's really nice to talk to other people and just see where they're from and how they train and all the different things they do. So it's really fun.
The Sizzler was separated into 8 sessions beginning Thursday evening and ending Sunday morning. All the events in the session were divided based on gender and age group. Some swimmers started as young as 4 years old.
Personally, I started a club team when I was 3 years old. With my mom being a coach, it was kind of easier to learn how to swim. We've had 4-year-olds on the team. If they can do the 25 and they can practice, it just depends like where levels are. I mean, we also have some people who start out when they're a freshman in high school, referred to being 6 years old. So I personally have been doing the meet since I was 6 years old, since I moved here to Cedar Falls. But that was my first year, and I've been doing it every summer since. So
the Blast Summer Sizzler has become a highly anticipated summer event the community loves to come out to see. There are many reasons to love this event, whether you're competing or watching it.
So popular is obviously it's very well run. We have great volunteers. The city of Cedar Falls lets us use this aquatic center, which is great. Bruce Vrink is our main contact, and he is here helping us the whole way. So we couldn't do that without the staff here at the falls.
All the teams that came out that sunny weekend love the Falls Aquatic Center's many features. The Falls is open Monday through Saturday from noon to 8:30 p.m. and on Sundays from 1 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. 35 kids from the Cedar Valley and across the nation came out to the Hartman Reserve Nature Center for the second annual Hunger Games camp, a week beginning with training in multiple survivalist areas and ending on a huge game of capture the flag, and had kids highly entertained and enriched in a learning experience. The Hunger Games is a book series by Suzanne Collins. It is set in a dystopian world in the future that has America divided into 12 districts, and every year the ruling power, known as the Capitol, has 2 kids from each district compete in the yearly Hunger Games, where they must kill each other and only one is allowed to win and survive. Those who have not read the popular books may have seen the movie starring Jennifer Lawrence. The Hartman Reserve took in just how popular the books were with kids and decided to make it into one of their literature-based camps.
We try and do a book-based camp every year to promote literacy and promote kids getting outside. This book, when I heard about the book, I knew it was going to be and especially the popularity. I read it, and even though I'm not a young adult anymore, I read it and figured, was able to quickly pick up things that I could turn into a camp using the power, the skills that our naturalists tend to have.
The reserve has done book-based camps in the past, such as My Side of the Mountain, Hatchet, and the Island of Blue Dolphins. The camp is broken down to 2 parts. The first part encompassed the first 3 days and was filled with training in multiple areas.
And so what we do is we just do a training for the first 3 days where we do all sorts of outdoor skills like trap making or shelter building, or that sort of thing, camouflage and GPS using, so all these things that could help them potentially in the arena that we create for them.
The last 2 days were spent playing the Hunger Games. Obviously, these children were not fighting to the death, but were eliminated throughout the day. It was primarily a huge game of capture the flag. There were 3 ways to eliminate a player. The first is to capture another team's flag. The teams would return to the Hartman Reserve building where a name would be drawn out the hat of the losing team. That person would then be eliminated. The second way was to challenge another team if you spotted each other. Again, both teams would return to the Hartman Reserve building where a name would be drawn out of a hat from both teams. Those 2 kids would face a random challenge like making a fire, archery, or geocaching. The loser was eliminated. Final way to eliminate a player was to ambush a team. By hiding in the woods and having another team walk by without seeing you, a team could yell ambush. The ambushed team would return to the Hartman Reserve and pull a name out of the hat to see who would be eliminated. How were the teams chosen? Well, that was all based on a point system. Throughout the first 3 days, kids were given points for completing challenges and doing well.
The points are for when you pick your leaders when you play the Hunger Games. So you get basically, like, if you get the most points, you get the first pick on who you get to go with.
The kids really enjoyed this camp, and the Hartman Reserve especially likes that it appeals to a hard-to-reach demographic for them.
I usually stay inside because I'm like a dancer and stuff, but I like getting closer to nature.
I knew it was popular last year when we brought 48 kids to it of a demographic and age range that we never get. The middle school age range, we just don't draw those kids. So I knew it was popular, and then this year we offered again, and we've already interviewed somebody who's from Maryland, and then we have 2 people that have come from Chicago, and 1 family came from Chicago, and I know is staying in a hotel this week, or the Chicago area in Illinois. So this gives us a much broader reach than programs. You know, normally we're lucky if we draw somebody up from Hudson. Now we're getting people from halfway across the country.
The Hartman Reserve Nature Center has a summer full of activities for adults, children, and families all around the Cedar Valley. To view some of their weekly and special events, go to hartmanreserve.org. Hartman Reserve is also buzzing about their newest addition, a beehive. After finding a feral beehive last winter, Hartman Reserve has added the beehive and programs centered on beekeeping. One such program was Backyard Beekeeping 101 last weekend. The weather outside has been beautiful, and the Hartman has been beside themselves with so many different programs going on. One such program is catching a buzz. There is now a beehive at the Hartman Nature Reserve. After a group of kids discovered honeycomb while out snowshoeing last winter, it was found that there was a feral beehive on the reserve. Thankfully, Chris Anderson, Hartman's program coordinator, knew just how to properly handle them.
I had kept bees at other nature centers I'd worked at, and also worked for a beekeeper when I was young growing up. And so I love bees, and I wanted to bring bees back to the nature center in an observation hive. Years ago they had an observation hive here, but the way the observation hive was set up, they lost the bees pretty much every year. Maybe they'd have them for 2 years, but they would die out. And knowing what I know about bees, I know that traditional observation hives, they don't keep bees alive very long. They're mainly they're set up with people observing them in mind, not necessarily the bees' well-being in mind. And so I wanted to look at a different way to keep bees inside that people could still see them, but it'd be more beneficial to the bees. And so did some research and discovered what are called Wardell top bar hives. And that's what we've built. There's one we're going to be opening up here in a little bit that you'll be able to see. And we wrote a grant. I built this one and then wrote a grant to get a store-bought one that looks nicer and has built-in windows built into it. So later on, when we get that inside and an entrance for the bees to go in and out of, people will be able to pop a door off and look and see what the bees are doing.
Last week, one of the programs centered on beekeeping was held at the Hartman Reserve.
We've learned everything. We've learned the difference between the different hives. We learned the whole lifespan of the bee and just how important it is. Like to eat 1 tablespoon of honey, a bee has to give its whole life for 1 tablespoon of honey. And it's just amazing. So every time you have 1 spoon of honey, you're going to think about that one lifetime of a bee took to make that honey. So it's just, and there's so much more. We've learned that. We built a beehive, or the starts of a Wari beehive, and it's just been very interesting.
Bee population has been on the decline, which is not good because bees take part in making 80% of the foods we eat.
Why is it important to keep bees? To increase the number of pollinators that are out there. Every fourth spoonful you eat at a meal was provided by a honeybee. So 1 in 4 of the things you eat was provided for you by honeybees and other pollinators.
The Hartman Reserve has big plans for the beehive.
We're planning on doing at least 3 different programs a year, one in the spring, one midsummer, and then one in the fall. And the one in the fall was where we'll actually be able to harvest off honey off of them. We're also doing other types of bee programming. We're doing bee lining programs. We're still trying to find that feral colony that's here. We know that they're here, but we just got to find them. So we're doing bee lining programs to teach people how to find bees, and you can get bees for free that way.
The reserve even hopes to add a honey festival in the fall that would be similar to their spring maple syrup festival. The beehive is located just beside the main building, not too far from the sidewalks. Hartman Reserve wishes to tell those who are scared of bees that there is no need to fear, for this breed of bees is quite docile and the hive is just far enough from the sidewalk to not cause harm. Summer is in full swing here in the Cedar Valley as we've had many beautiful days this past month. That being said, it can still sometimes be tough to encourage today's children to move away from the TV. Iowa Public Television is making sure they do their part to encourage children to live healthy, active lives. City News' Matt Lang has more.
The Cedar Falls Public Library hosted a very special guest this past week. A guest so special, in fact, that there were children and their parents waiting outside the library doors before it even opened for the day. Who could be drawing so much attention to a library at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday, you ask? Iowa Public Television's own Dan Wardell, stopping by for his reading road trip, of course.
You know, during the summer, we do the reading road trip, and I travel all across the state. We're doing 67 cities and towns this year, and I travel around and teach kids about turning the TV off, going outside to play, using your imagination, reading lots of good books, and eating healthy food.
It takes some serious star power to attract so many young kids to hear about turning off the television. But Dan has all that and more. Dan is the charismatic host of the IPTV Kids Clubhouse, and certainly has a knack for getting the children just as excited as he is about keeping active, using their minds, and eating properly, all through the art of storytelling.
If anyone has ever not been to Storytime before, you should not expect a book for sure, because we jump around, kids are jumping around, and there's a lot of movement, a lot of action, and a lot of using our imagination. So no, I don't sit in a chair and read a book, although I like reading books, and that's a great way to read to kids. But no, during my Storytime, we're up and at 'em, so.
After Dan's 9:30 a.m. showing, he had another performance at 11:30. The lines for each story session were big, and the children in those lines were ecstatic. Having the privilege of seeing Dan firsthand, there was no question as to why the children were so excited. Dan is just happy he can get kids excited about something which usually doesn't get too much attention.
Yeah, you know, I always like to think, you know, everybody stands in line for the athletic events or the big rock concerts, but isn't it a great day when kids are standing outside the library waiting for it to open?
Even with the children coming in with the highest of expectations, Dan made sure to impress them all. In his interactive story he shared with the children, they had to stop some pesky varmints.
The libraries across the state of Iowa have an overall theme every summer, and this summer it is Dig into Reading. So today I have created a story that has to do with some evil moles, and we're going to be digging into a mountain and trying to stop the giant mountain of junk food.
The kids had a wide variety of moles to deal with one by one. Each mole had a different talent, so the kids had to do something different to stop each one. The only way the kids could stop the final mole was by braving up and giving him a big smooch.
They had to bring 3 people up for the last one, and then they brought, then it was like dancing and swimming.
Everyone had a blast at the event, but most importantly, Dan's message definitely got through to the kids.
Well, he was entertaining, and he was telling us not to eat unhealthy foods and eat healthy foods and read and turn off your TV and electronics and go outside and play.
If you happen to miss this year's event, all hope is not lost. Dan's Reading Road Trip is an annual event, and Cedar Falls has been lucky enough to find themselves on Dan's list every summer. So keep an eye out next year and make sure to mark your calendar for an event you won't want to miss. For Cedar Falls City News, I'm Matt Lang.
Thanks, Matt. If you'd like to see more from this stop on Dan's Reading Road Trip and many more, make sure to check out his blog at blogs.iptv.org/blog/Dantastic. Looking for a great way to exercise and get rid of any aggression you have after a long day? The Cedar Falls Recreation Center has a solution with its kickboxing class. With a mix of cardio, martial arts, and basic exercise moves, you will be sure to work up a sweat. On Monday, July 15th, I took a look at one of the most popular cardio classes offered at the Cedar Falls Recreation Center. Punching bags, gloves, exercise balls, and sheer adrenaline all combined together to make this class so popular that some of those who have taken this class have been doing so for over a year.
It's a mix. You kind of, I guess you'd say aerobics, cardio, and MMA stuff too, punching the bag, do a little bit of everything.
Instructor Cindy Lang is constantly moving around the class, helping those who need it while keeping up the intensity.
Cindy keeps it really interesting and varies it so you don't come and do the same thing every class. We may change it around what equipment we use besides the bags, step benches, different things. So it's always a little different every time you come. Change it up so it don't get monotonous.
Kickboxing includes a warm-up, cool-down. We have different jabs, we have different punches, different kicks, and different maneuvers in between. So it isn't just all cardio kickboxing. You are hitting the bags just for that intensity. Sometimes people look at the bag and think of an event that's bothering them, and then we'll give them a little extra aggression to get rid of. So it is a good stress reliever.
The class varies its class size every week, with between 10 to 20 people showing up. Many individuals drop in to try out the class before purchasing a fitness pass to continue it. If you already have a membership at the Recreation Center, you would still need to get a fitness pass. There are two ways to get a fitness pass. One way is to get a monthly pass at the beginning of the month, or you could purchase a 4-month fitness pass. The 4-month fitness pass is a better deal, but the next 4-month period will not start again until September. You can try out a class though at any time for only $5. To learn more about the fitness classes offered at the Rec Center, go to cedarfalls.com. From there, select Recreation from the Departments tab, and then click Fitness Info and Fees. And finally, a special event for the community. In honor of Cedar Falls hosting the Shrine Bowl for the first year in decades, Movies Under the Moon will be showing a movie on Wednesday the 24th for both the public and football players and cheerleaders. The movie that night will be Rudy. This movie accounts the life of Daniel Rudy Rudinger, who harbored dreams of playing football at the University of Notre Dame despite significant obstacles. As always, the movie will begin at dusk or around 9 p.m. Residents are encouraged to bring lawn chairs or blankets, and popcorn will be available to purchase before the movie. The Shrine Bowl is returning to Cedar Falls for the first time in decades, and the community is asked to support the event in hopes of being able to host the annual event in coming years. Cedar Falls' own Ike Bucker will be playing for the North All-Stars in the 41st annual Iowa Shrine Bowl game to be played at the UNI Dome on Saturday, July 27th. The kickoff is set for 4 p.m. There will also be a big parade in downtown Cedar Falls on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. The Shrine Parade will begin at 8th and Main Street and travel north on Main Street to 2nd Street before it turns right and heads east to State Street, where the parade finishes. The parade is expected to last 30 to 40 minutes. Residents are warned that there will be no parking allowed along the Shrine Parade route Saturday, July 27th from 6 a.m. until about noon. And that's all for this edition of Cedar Falls City News. I'm Shelby Gappa. Thank you for watching.